It's like the only thing that's up in lieu of the government sanctions against Russia is palladium. I wonder if that metal's going to go up a lot, because I guess that's the only ace the Russians really got, because like the United States does have a lot of natural gas and oil. They got more natural gas and oil than they know what to do with. They're probably thinking about exporting natural gas, except the problem is it's illegal right now, and they might make it legal again. But, it actually put a hit on the crude oil, too, I noticed, and the sanctions have gotten a lot tougher. I know a lot of people don't respect Obama as being a tough guy and stuff like that, but, we don't have a one-horse leader here. It's not a one-horse show. It's actually, Obama is like an array of a lot of people. That's really what it is, It's quite obvious to us that the president is kind of controlled by other elements, and it's probably always been that way somewhat, and up to various degrees, but it looks like a lot of people in Russia are getting hit with sanctions, and it's the inner circle. And this, I got to point out some of this stuff. I'm not going to get through the alphabet soup names and the Russians that are getting hit with the sanctions, but a lot of them are Vlad, the sucking the blood out of the Russian people. They're the big oligarchs. They're the ones with the big bucks. They got their own little special bank, and that bank is being sanctioned, and some of the big top people that have all the big bucks happen to be in charge of the FSB, which is a successor to the KGB. I shouldn't laugh, but I don't know why people freaking run over there and they say, "Oh, Putin, you're such a great guy." It's worst, man. It's 100 times worse, man. And the other thing is there was the drug enforcement guy. He was another one with a lot of money. I'm going to tell you this, one insight, I'm diverging on this before I get into some of this other shit, but, this one guy actually from Ukraine, he says that the police are so popular in Ukraine, like they got like a 3% of the population in Ukraine supports the police because they're so corrupt over there, and the situation actually is the same way in Russia. Don't matter who's in charge, it's a racket on the top. The government itself is the racket. But the 3% that support the police is an interesting number, because that's about how many police there are in a population. 3%. And then yet the Westerners buy into this shit. So maybe this ain't going to be so much of a silver update. But I saw on one of this famous channels out there, I don't know how famous it is, not as famous as video games. That's where all the big famous YouTube hits hit. You get 1 billion hits on video games. I never played video games ever, I never played any video games, man. Period. Never got into movies, entertainment, none of that shit. Just the facts. But, there's this Russian guy on there, he's American, he's talking about the fall of when the Soviet Union collapsed and the USA is on its way to collapse. I don't know, perhaps, but what, I have to tell you, I picked up on it with that guy. He's 110% on the side of Russia, not on the side of the USA. And I do now, from way back, reading all kinds of intelligence stuff when I was in the military, that there was, during the time of this fall of the Soviet Union, basically loads of people came here that you don't really know what you're getting. There was a big problem where there's probably a lot of plants that are over here playing little disinformation games and stuff like that. But I have to say this, what's really obvious is that, a lot of people holding up these big pictures of Vladimir Putin, in the Ukraine. They're also holding up the hammer and sickle, and they're holding up pictures of Stalin. I don't know. People freaking stupid in the United States. This isn't an armchair debate, man. It ain't nothing to do with that shit. Nothing at all. Nothing. People are stupid. That's all I'm going to say. Freaking Americans are naive. Actually, I don't even want to digress, but, there's been a lot of secret interviews with that happened in Bosnia and stuff like that, and they were all Russian ruses and stuff. It says, first off, they wouldn't let, somebody that was like a rebel and underground wouldn't be allowing newscasters to come to their place and show their face and everything like that. There's so many times newscasters don't know what the hell they're doing. They know. But it sells, so it sells. Just like I put out a video about the Rothschilds and it freaking took off like my #1 video. And, I get a guy on there saying, well, what are you trying to do? Say some Jewish family's a problem? No, I'm not. I'm not. And actually, 99% of the time, I take all kinds of hits for freaking defending Jews and defending Israel's rights to exist. And it's just amazing. I didn't push that video. It freaking took off on its own because that seems to be stuff people love, Hey, it's a big Jewish conspiracy theory. That's what people love. I don't know, people are idiots, man. It's not a freaking Jewish conspiracy theory. It's my opinion. It's not just my opinion. It's a fact. It's a fact, man. Anyway, But anyway, this actually is probably going to be more bullish for palladium with the sanctions and what Russia could do than silver. I'm highly suspicious of what happened in 2001 when palladium, not that I think it's going to do, it may do this in one day. I think it's going to go over the price of gold, but I don't know, about 4 times the price of gold. But that's what happened in 2001. Palladium went to 4 times the price of gold. Now, would it do that here? That'd be nice. I'd like that. Because I take good old U.S. greenbacks and I buy other stuff with it. And, as far as like silver, one of the things, like I said all along, is like everybody in America ought to have at least 10 ounces of silver just for colloidal silver purposes. I mean, if you're not talking about investments or you're like pretty shiny coins, hey, 10 ounces of silver is going to make you like umpteen gallons of freaking colloidal silver that could last you like ridiculous amounts of time. And, it's like, just 2 ounces or 1 ounce just split into a couple thick rods will make you like thousands of gallons of that stuff. And, it's got so many uses that it could be used for besides, just taking a little bit orally. But it's not even just for the person, but it's also an antibacterial. The other thing is, if I was a guy on the top here pushing for the silver stuff and trying to push the demand up, I would push for that Argentium silver jewelry. It's 92.5% silver like sterling, but it should, instead of containing copper, it contains germanium. And the thing is, it's a really super nice jewelry. It looks better than platinum. It's got better luster. You can put it in salt water and it won't tarnish. It retains its luster. It's strong. And it'll last forever. And it's way, way, way under the price of, white gold, which can tarnish because, it's got a mixture or something in it. It's got nickel or something in it, or platinum to make it try to get to that white color. It looks way better. It's even shinier than platinum. So I don't know why they don't push for that. The guys on the top of this game plan aren't really thinking very hard, because I know what I'd be doing. I'd be pushing Argentium silver left and right. That would create a major demand. Everybody would have that stuff because it looks better than anything out there. The whole problem with sterling was it tarnished. This stuff doesn't tarnish ever. Argentium. I mentioned it on like 2 other videos in the past 2 years, but I think there's a lot of people who probably haven't heard of it. Argentium silver. It's silver. It's sterling silver, 92.5%. And instead of it being 7.5% copper, it's still 92.5%, which makes it true sterling silver. It's germanium, some kind of metal. And it's like, it never loses its luster. It's like mirror polish, and actually silver is it's like the reflectivity of silver. It's like the most reflective metal going. So it's super shiny, doesn't tarnish, and it's way less price than, platinum or something like that. And still even shinier. And way less price than white gold. That's why white gold is sold, because it's a competitor to platinum. I'm amazed that this product isn't sold to like left and right, because that would put a major demand on silver and drive the price up somewhat. I mean, not to maybe $1,000 an ounce or something, but it'll drive it up maybe a good 20-50% or more. Who knows, right? So, but they don't do that. But anyway, I'm going to say this too. There's a lot of freaking garbage on the alternative media about the government mafia. I'm going to tell you, the government mafia, first off, I don't like them using that word, because the mafia word came from the Italians, and Sicilians specifically. And what it was not something that was, well, it turned out to be suppressing people in certain instances, but it thrives to this day because there's certain sides to it that are good. It's like, people want things, and the mafia, it's basically gambling and prostitution and stuff. I mean, like, they throw the label on everything out there, but it's, like if, say, in New Jersey, you might say the horse races, in the Meadowlands, that type of stuff, right? A lot of gambling going on there. And, it's actually better odds and better, more well-managed than, say the lottery, the official state lottery. So you win your money, you have a better chance of winning. That's why actually people play those kind of gamble like that, because they know it's better than a lottery ticket. I'm not selling this shit for it, but it's a fact, man. It's a fact. But the mafia actually came about from the suppression of the people by the government. The people would actually wind up going. There were some people just said, hell with this, we're standing up. And the people that stood up, other people went to those people that stood up, and maybe they'd owe them a favor. That's really how it started, and it was against government oppression. So, the deal that's going on with Russia, it's big. It is like a big organized crime family that runs everything. And they're getting the sanctions put on them right now by not just Obama. Some people mock Obama because he doesn't, ride around on a horse or some shit and carry a gun in the woods and shoot tigers with tranquilizer darts and go fishing or something. But, it's really like, we don't have this one-horse show over here in the United States. The president does his job, and there's a lot of other people doing their job. Policy isn't even set. Foreign policy isn't even set by one man in the United States. It's set by a team, which unfortunately comes from some other people that ain't so good that we don't elect. But, it's not set by one man. It's not set by one man. So I think these sanctions are actually going to be some pretty tough stuff on, some of the oligarchs in Russia. And, the best thing is, it really ain't going to go on the Russian people. It's going to go on the freaking crooks on the top. What's wrong with that? Nothing wrong with that. The hell with them, man. These guys, they don't, Vlad is a name like, I don't know, it just doesn't mean nothing. But in my mind, it means you're sucking the blood out of the people. There's a load of them Vlads on the top, besides Vladimir Putin, that are sucking the blood out of the Russian people. But, it's like, so they get sanctioned. Who gives a shit? It's fine by me. It's fine by me. I'll support that policy. Because, they talk about Russia's backyard, but man, Russia's been expansionist as all hell throughout its whole history. Why do you think it's the biggest freaking country in the world with nine time zones? It's got the biggest landmass. Is that because they're not expansionist? Now they're talking about getting back other areas too. It's like they colonized it with Russian people. They genocided people that were already in these areas and they deported them. Then they colonized it with Russians. And they tell you that, now it's like they're asking you to come back. But I'll tell you this. I knew this from way back because I knew it from Major Golitsyn, but it was also other people like Christopher Story, British intelligence. And, I used to be pretty well knowledgeable in military intelligence, but the whole thing with the Russian, and it's not, everybody wasn't on the same page on this deal, what I'm trying to say, but the whole thing with the dissolution of the Soviet Union, it was planned from the get-go. They planned it. And I think they planned it in concert with, Reagan making his cute speeches, tear down this wall and all this other kind of shit. Because they were giving Gorbachev the keys to the Presidio over the mountains over in, which is the old naval facility, while Gorbachev was still president of freaking Russia. They're all working together. The problem is, I agree with this 110%. This is how I see it, just from my intuition that reads into things. Major Anatoly Golitsyn said that the Western elite don't know what they're dealing with when they're dealing with these guys in Russia. They're gonna freaking backstab them, and they want world government in Russia, and the United States elite want world government, but the Russian elite are gonna backstab the Western elite because they want it on their terms. But I could say this, what really is going to matter is, how much money you make and how well you can survive in a world without greenbacks, because who the hell knows what's going to happen. It may actually come down to where, you're going to have a period of time of adjustment where there will be a economic chaos. But I have to tell you this. All these yo-yos coming from Russia telling you about knocking the United States, and they're totally loyal to Russia. You'd be very aware of these clowns because, you should still be sticking with the United States because still what we got here is the best system in the world. People are, knocking it because they're pissed off about what's going on, but they shouldn't be knocking it like trying to tear it down, because that's not the problem. It's people aren't getting off their ass. But you could say all this shit with the numbers. You could say a person has, well, say for instance you're totally independent with solar panels and stuff like that, and you have your own food growing and stuff. The numbers that they would assign to that as you being an economically productive person might be zero. But in essence, you might be totally self-sufficient too. So, the United States isn't going to fall that easy because, a lot of these things are, there's a lot of ways you can, keep productive and do a lot of different things, and even provide your own energy and provide your own food. And silver actually is a very important thing to have on hand, even if you only have 10 ounces of it, because of the colloidal silver aspect to it. That is a very, very important aspect to it. But just beware of these clowns out there with, I call them clowns because I see right through this shit. I don't know. I guess I've been familiar with this kind of crap for many decades. And before the internet was around. The inner circle in Russia have never deviated from their purpose of worldwide domination. Never. The whole dissolution of the Soviet Union was a ruse. It was. And I don't know what the hell the deal is right now, because I think the West was working with them, but the West and Lee think they got him under control, or they try to keep him under control, and they're not under control, because the Soviets on the inside, and I'll call them the Soviets because it's never changed. Putin is a Soviet. He's a communist to the max with a lot of money. That's what the hell he is. It's never changed. The goal's never changed. It's worldwide domination. If Putin takes Crimea, he's going to take eastern Ukraine. He's going to take other countries. And I know Biden warned him about taking, Latvia and Lithuania and stuff. But he's going to take whatever the hell he can. He's going to do whatever the hell he can. And if the United States has an economic calamity, all these freaking Russian assholes over here are going to be writing all these little bullshit stories to make Americans divided, and they're going to be freaking making you turn against your own system while they move in the vacuum and take over. And I'm going to tell you right now, these Russians, they're some of the biggest racist assholes going, man, from what I see. They are. And they're not going to have any kind of policy about multiculturalism, multiracial USA. No, they're fucking bad news. They're bad news. You got to remember, Putin himself, what he did when he started the Chechen War, he's the guy that bombed the buildings himself to start that war. He's got a big fear of uprising with ethnic populations against him. Even notice the Cossacks that were over in Ukraine, none of them were allowed to have weapons. You notice that? You notice that shit? That's the Russians, man. Even though you should see what there's a big long history of what they did to the Cossacks. They're fucked up, man. They got no kind of freaking mindset like in the United States where everybody has equal rights and you can come from any kind of background and everything like that. I know it ain't perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than anything than dreamed up by any place in the world. And in Russia, it's like, you're going to do it our way or forget about it, you're dead meat. And they got real tight control over what goes on. So, this isn't exactly a silver update, but it actually looks like positive news for Palladium. I'm just looking at this shit. I'm saying to myself, if there's one thing that the Russians could put sanctions on the West with, is palladium. They hold a lot of that stuff, and it is an important metal. So you never know. That shit might go up a lot. It might, and I think that's one of their aces.